It's Tuesday. Excuse me. It's Thursday once again, guys, and it's time for another episode of Comic Conversation. This is episode 80. We're into our octogenarian run of the show. So this is a big show tonight. We have a lot to talk about. A lot of big things happened this week in terms of news, reviews, things coming out, and some big news with CBCS Comics as well. That we're going to have a special guest later on who's going to be joining us, returning. One of our first returning guests is Steve Borock, president and head grader at CBCS Comics. He's going to share with us the news of the move of CBCS, from Florida to Dallas, Texas. And we'll get into that a little bit later when he joins us. As we normally do on the show, we'll give some shout outs here in the chat. We have a live chat going. If you are later on listening to us via iTunes, head on over on Tuesday. I keep saying Tuesday. On Thursday. Got it. On Thursday.
I do it all my videos, man. I do it all the time.
We were on Tuesday for so long. It's like, come on. Give me a break. Thursday, come join us live 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, and join us in the live chat. We always have a lot of fun there. Or if not, leave us a comment, let us know you dropped by. So let's start off with a few shout outs in the chat, and then we'll get into some updates. I want to hear what you guys have been doing, especially you, Chris, because you missed last week. So AG Surfers here, he says free Stan Lee. That is something we're going to be talking about later on, and I do agree with you. Jason Smith was second. Otaku Dan 48 says, "What's up, peeps? What's up to you, good sir?" We also have Philly Superman with us. Philly Superman is part of the Comic Frontline crew. Really great show. Our friends over there, always happy when they stop by. Comically Flawed is here. Our man with the blue wrench, our regulator, our chat regulator, Mr. Adam himself. And somebody with one of the best names on the planet. First name Jesse. Yeah, Jesse represent. We have Jesse Olsen here, who is joining us from CBCS itself in the forums, in the Facebook groups. He is one of the guys who regulates all of that. So really happy to have you here with us as well. Jason Smith saying hello to everybody, especially Miss Hustle. Hey, Miss Hustle. Nice to have you here as well. And I think that's pretty much... Oh, Jack Yo just joined us. We have Jack Yo here. NES Master 80, Batcave Comics, King of the Golden State, Tats Comics, and I'm sure there'll be more later. So what have you guys been up to in the past week? I know, Justin, we had the show last week, and we talked about a bunch of stuff. It was a two-man crew last week. So what have you been up to since then?
Bad Beards. Bad Beards was live on Monday. So if you haven't checked out that video yet, definitely check that out. That was a lot of fun to do. And I think I've already got, people have hit me up with, DMs and stuff of a lot of villains that I apparently didn't add into that one. So keep the suggestions coming. We'll do a part 2 for that one for sure.
Sweet.
So a lot of fun stuff like that. Picked up books. Haven't got a call up yet. Still kind of debating on what I'm going to do with that. It was like a weird light week for me. So... things that go, but normal fun stuff, and of course Sunday morning comics coming up on Sunday morning 10 a.m.
Right on. All right, cool. How about you, Chris? What have you been doing
the
past 2 weeks? Been busy.
Yeah. So this past weekend we had my daughter's first birthday party, so that was very fun. She had a great time, but man, was I busy. I ended up missing the show that you guys did on Friday because we were setting up for the party that was on Saturday. And it's just Saturday, Sunday was Saturday was the party, Sunday was the cleanup. And, it was just, it set me back a little bit as far as my videos and everything, just because, just being so busy doing that. But, I will get that stuff up and show everybody what's going on with my, books I picked up and everything like that. But, just kind of, just doing the family thing for the past, week or so, just kind of, enjoying the moment. Just, baby only turns 1 once. So, just having some fun with that. So,
yeah. Cool. All right. Be looking forward to those videos from you.
They'll be up. Don't you worry.
Yeah, all right, good. So if you're here with us, for the first time, if you're here for Steve, thank you for joining us. Also, if you're one of the people who is regularly with us, we appreciate all of you. If you don't know, what we do on the show a lot is talk about the latest in the industry, whether it's the comic book news, movie and TV news, things that have been optioned. We always pick a book to review. We don't always get to it, but we pick one. This week we picked Domino, so hopefully we'll get to that and we'll be able to tell you what we liked about it. But spoiler, I like that book. It was good. We do that and we share things. Is Justin frozen?
No, I'm playing with the camera.
Oh, I thought you were frozen. So that's basically, what this show is about, a weekly show, and that just to give you an idea of what we talk about. We do have a fourth person, and that would be Edwin. He'll be joining us later, and he will hopefully regale us with stories of Dallas Fan Expo, which happened at the same time as C2E2 in Chicago, which I thought was interesting. And then last week's show, we talked about Red Sonja, we talked about Deathstroke, and we actually made our Infinity War predictions. That movie came on to early tracking at over $200 million, which is amazing. Seen that video from last week? Go back, leave us in the comments, and what we do is we write them down and then we revisit all the estimates the week afterwards. So that's always fun to do. We talked about The Boys. Carl Urban was tapped to play Billy Butcher, which should be pretty cool. And Lord of the Rings, of course, Lord of the Rings, big fan of that. And then the other thing we talked about was the massive sales numbers for DC and for Action Comics, number 1,000. So DC Nation 0, Action 1,000. It was a fun show. A little bit shorter of a show because it was the two of us, but it was a great time. So, check that out later on if you guys get a chance. And then after you do that, I do have a contest going on. It's getting up to about 2 weeks into it, week and a half, heading on to 2 weeks, which would be right about the halfway point. Check that out. All the rules and stuff are in that video on the channel. So that'll be later on. So that's enough for that kind of stuff. A good few minutes for Steve. What I'll be doing, just so you guys know, is setting the link and he'll join us once we get into that. I guess we can kind of jump into a couple of the topics ahead of time. The first thing that I was excited to talk about is that Lost in Space is going to be released tomorrow, actually, on Netflix. They rebooted it, first season, 10 episodes long, and it looks pretty cool. I don't know if you guys ever seen Lost in Space or that remake with the movie, a few years back, but pretty excited to check this out.
That was a few years back was a long time ago now, because like Matt LeBlanc was popular at the time. So when did that come out? Was that late 90s?
That was, I want to say, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't. Oh yeah, because it had oh my gosh, who played Dr. Smith? Oh my gosh, forgot his name. Gordon from Batman Dark Knight.
Oh, Gordon.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman played Dr. Smith. So
1998.
Yeah,
that's when that came out.
Oh, 98. Wow, Jesus.
98.
So it's 20 years old. 20th anniversary coming up soon.
Oh my god.
Yep. Perfect timing.
Yep.
We had William Hurt, really great actor. Heather Graham was in it. Jack Johnson was the kid.
Yep.
You said Matt LeBlanc. Who else was there? Lenny James was in it. Do you guys know who Lenny James is?
No idea.
I think that's the guy from The Walking Dead. Yeah, that's a Walking Dead guy. Morgan. He was in it.
Maybe he was somebody at the beginning.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never seen the actual movie, like the live action movie. I saw the show a long time ago. My mother was a big fan of the show. And I remember when it had come on to, was it Nick at Night? One of those things, Nick at Night, some type of channel where they just kind of rerun the old stuff. And she was really excited for it, and she liked it. I had a hard time trying to get into it. Like I remember watching it, but it was just like, I guess if you compare it to like Star Trek at the time, which I think might have been a little bit further along, it just was so much more cheesy to me that I was just like, not really a big fan. I was like, this is great. You don't understand. So, but the new one does look kind of cool. Like they definitely updated it, and it looks a lot more. It looks a little bit, I think, in my opinion, a little bit more serious than what the original show was. I think that they're trying to make it more of a sci-fi. I don't know if I call it like a saga, but just something that like, you know, makes you want to watch it and kind of taking all the cheese out of what was the original and really making it, you know, dramatic a little bit. So I think that's I think that may get me to watch it again and give it another chance.
Yeah, like the elements that we've seen from the trailer, them like throwing in a new origin for the robot and things like that. It looks like it could be pretty cool. I mean, I'm definitely going to check it out. So I'm a sci-fi fan. What can I say?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
I'm a sci-fi fan. I gotta watch it.
Yeah, I gotta at least like check it out. You know.
Yeah. Like Chris said, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've always said that I'm heavy on the visual aspect of movies, and this looks like they really put a lot of the budget towards, you know, the visual component. So that's a big win for me.
Chris, can you turn the dryer on? Like everybody really misses the dryer.
Oh yeah,
all that's going on.
To make that's like Jason Smith's like Venom like comments like the dryer, please, it's killing me.
It's like with Venom.
Yeah, no, my daughter's jacket is clean and dry, so there will be no dryer. Sorry.
Just throw it on the floor and step on it, and then it will be dirty.
It has to happen now.
Yeah. It was dirty, this thing. So cool. Edwin just joined us. Hey, Edwin.
Hey guys, I was just trying to chat with people in the chat. How's everybody doing?
Good. We were just doing a little bit of catch up. We were talking about Lost in Space.
Yeah, I saw that. I was never really a fan of that show, to be honest with you. That was back in the 70s, right?
60s.
That was earlier, yeah.
60s, and then they did a remake in 98.
Okay.
And now,
I mean, I watched a couple episodes of it.
Years later.
Yeah, I watched a couple episodes of it, but I mean, it was never really. I feel like that type of stuff is for people that like Star Trek and maybe Star Wars and you know, stuff like that. But
all that
I don't
crap that you hate.
Yeah.
No, it's not crap, but you know, everybody has their own likes.
Yeah, that's cool. So we had a show last week, and it was just Justin and I. You weren't there because you were at Dallas Fan Expo.
Yes.
You got any fun stories for us about the show and the weekend? I know you met a few people.
Well, I got to give props to Trilogy Comics. He did a great job of kind of coordinating everything. Because we all know when we go to a con, everybody has their head is in like 10 different places and everybody wants to do their own thing. Mm-hmm. And Trilogy did a good job of creating a group chat on Facebook Messenger for those that were there. And he was able to get everybody to meet at a spot kind of towards the end of the con. And it was really, really good. It was really, really fun. And I highly recommending kind of maybe putting a little bit of what you want to do to the side a little bit to get together with other YouTubers if you ever have that opportunity, because these, I don't know, like to me, these opportunities are few and far between. Mm-hmm. And unless you're going to cons, a lot of cons throughout the year, make room for other, meeting other people and stuff like that. Because we had a blast. It was just tons of fun. I think we all met for easily 2-3 hours. And it was just really, really good. It was really, really good.
Nice. Yeah, I saw some of the pictures, like the group photos and stuff. Looks like you guys had a blast.
I didn't get a lot of pictures just because I'm trying to do concept, but then I have my wife there and I'm trying to accommodate her as well. So, and actually, speaking of which, if you guys do go to a con, you bring your girlfriends or wives with you. Make sure there's other girlfriends and wives of other YouTubers or whatever, because let's just face it, like they're there supporting us for the most part. They're carrying our books, our bags, stuff like that, and they for the most part have no interest.
Hang out with too.
Yeah. So like, I mean, unless there's like some celebrities there they want to make that they want to meet, that's all cool. But that's just a short moment, and the other hours and other miles of walking is all for you for the most part. So I say that because once the wives got together, like they were just talking among each other, jibber jabbering, and that's kind of what made it fun for them. So that was really good.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, no, my wife doesn't have the strength for all that. Like, she yeah, I mean, getting her to go into a comic store is tough. Like, she's just not into that type of stuff. And I mean, she asked me one time, like, oh, why don't you take me? I'm like, I could if you really want to, but I mean, you know, just remember, like, I mean, this is way more than just a comic store. So, you know, I can see that though. It's just like one of those deals where, you know, it is good for them to have something to do, just because, I mean, it's so busy and it's just so much going on that it's just, it's not easy for them, especially if they're not into it. You know, it's just literally just following, you know, basically you around, watching you spend money that they're like, you know, we could be buying other things and this is what you're buying. I mean, I could hit, I know if I took my wife, that's all I'd be hearing, like, you're not going to buy that, are you? That, you know, and it's just like, you know, one of those things where I wouldn't do that to her specifically unless she really, really wanted to go. And she was like, you know, and it would have to be probably like a Sunday or something where it's not real, like super busy. She would never survive a Saturday. I just know that she would freak out.
And see, that's a good point, because if you do want to bring your wife or girlfriend, definitely bring her on a Friday or Saturday, because I tried to prep my wife by bringing her to smaller cons. Yeah. But once she got to Dallas Fan Expo, she was very overwhelmed. And I haven't been to the Alamo Comic-Con yet, but the Fan Expo Dallas to me is one of the biggest ones in Texas. And it's just, I mean, you're talking probably easily 10,000 people plus at least. So it was probably more than that, but it was very overwhelming for her. And she got to the point where she just had to kind of sit down. Yeah. And just watch everybody pass by and everybody do their own thing and stuff like that. So
yeah, it can be pretty overwhelming. Not just the fact that you're walking so much, but just sensory overload, you know, especially for somebody who's never really been to that. They're just everything to see, and you know, you hear all these things, and it's just it can be tiring, you know, absolutely, mentally but physically too.
Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of the guys were great, man. Like Legend was cool. You know, I taught the wife most of the time because she was kind of sitting in between us. And then I saw the guys from Blaster Stash shit. That was really cool. And then the guy, they call him Mr. White Gloves. I mean, all those guys were great. Who else did I see? Tito was there. I see Tito a lot.
Tito Ortiz.
Kingdom Comics. He was there. Yeah. He's part of the what's their chat now? Is it the comic book cartel? Something like that. Yeah. So it was just a lot of fun. And I watched Legends chat, and he was right, man. We all just wanted to get together and just kind of hang out and just talk and just kind of get to know each other. And really that's what most of that evening consisted of. And then of course, when everybody went on their own way throughout the con, everybody's doing their own thing, but it was just really, really good just to get together with people and have a few drinks and eat and just kind of hang out.
Nice. Sounds like a good time. So everybody now has a mission this year. Con meetups.
Exactly. And another thing I recommend, which I didn't think about till afterwards, is if you guys do a recording there, get other people to be in your videos. Like, because some of the guys were doing that. Blaster Stash, I think, had a Legend on their little video, and it's just fun, man. It's just really, really fun.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, unfortunately, down here, there's not too many people that I know of on YouTube or, you know, social to meet up with. So,
yeah, I for the past 2 years I have met up with Amazing Murphinita at Boston Comic Con, and then also like I think it was like 2 years ago we ran into another YouTuber, the man from Beantown. And so it was just kind of random that we, you know, and there's just like, so that was pretty cool, you know, meeting up with those guys, talking with them, you know, talking comics and everything. You know, it's definitely a fun time. You know, it's just one of those things where it's just, you definitely have to plan ahead though, just because, you know, waiting till day of, it's like, oh, I'll see you on the floor. Well, you know, especially now that they've moved it to a bigger building and it's run by Fan Expo, like, I mean, there's at least like 50,000 people easily, and it's just like, you know, it keeps going up the number every single year, so it's just like you know, you have to kind of set up a spot and then meet up and then just kind of figure it out from there. So, but it's definitely a fun time. I can agree with that. Like, you know, hanging out with the YouTubers and everything, other YouTubers that you see and everything is a fun time at a con. Whether it's just digging through long boxes, getting autographs together, just, you know, and then just talking about, you know, everything going on, you know, personal life type stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'll say, if you have an opportunity to get a press pass, get a press pass. Justin knows about that. Jesse, I think that you've probably utilized the press pass a couple times. Definitely do that, because these cons can get really expensive. And I think a 3-day pass is easily $80 to $150, depending on what con you go to.
Yep.
So definitely utilize that if you have the opportunity to do so. And shout out to Taco Dan, because he was there and we were all on the line for Joe Quesada. And Joe Quesada had this he was like 1 book per person. I was like, what? 1 book per person? Yeah. And so the line wasn't big at all. So what people ended up doing was they're just circling through the line over and over again. And he made Taco Dan and all of us do a bunch of laps. Just because we were all just getting the same, you know, he was signing the same people's stuff over and over again, and it just got to the point where he was like, all right, how many books you got? How many books how many you got? And I was like, all right, just lay them all out and let me just sign them all. And his signing was only like an hour to an hour and a half long. I don't know if that's all he did through the whole weekend, but when I got there, they were like, the panel was saying like he was only signing from this time to this time, and he wasn't signing on Friday or Sunday. So it had to have been that short amount of time on that one day. And it was really quick. And I don't know if he's used to like San Diego or Wizard World, New York, or Chicago or something like that, but 1 book per person was kind of tough to swallow. And when he saw that there wasn't a lot of people there in line, and he just kind of let everybody get all this stuff signed, that was a relief, because he was one of the main guys I went there to see, because I don't know how accessible Joe Quesada is in y'all's neck of the woods, but I haven't seen him. Yeah, I've been doing cons for about 6 years now, and I haven't seen him anywhere near me. So,
yeah, he never comes around here. So, looks like Lords of the Long Box got 3 books signed by Joey Q. No, he's just messing with it. He didn't fly in. He's just saying whatever. All right, so.
That was my reaction, because of I just decided to take a look at the lineup for this year's Boston Comic Con, and Bob McLeod is going to be there. So looks like I'm going to be getting that New Mutants. Yeah, I'm going to have to get that signed. Damn,
sure, man.
That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
don't blame you.
Yeah, Comically Flawed is against signatures, I think.
A lot of people are. You know, it's actually kind of a I guess it's more of a purist collector's, you know, thing, where it's just like, don't ruin the book having someone sign it, even if it is a creator. So it's, you know, but I don't know. I'm gonna do my best though. We'll see what happens.
I like them. Yeah. So while Edwin was at Dallas Comic Fest, Mr. Steve Borock, who just joined us, was very busy at C2E2, from what I hear. Is that correct?
Yeah. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I'm on speakerphone. My headset's doesn't seem to be working with the phone.
Oh, you sound nice and clear to me. I hope we're coming through on your end.
Oh, okay, good. So you might hear my dog bark or something.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. Well, this is your second time here, so welcome back to the show. Same panel as last time. We got Justin. Want to say hi? Hey, Edwin's here.
How you doing?
And Chris as well.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Good. And so what we're going to talk about, of course, is something big in the news that broke. I don't know if it broke purposely or if it just came out, but you know, the move with the company. We also have on the side. So if we do get some questions or comments for you, we'll field those through for you, and you know, you can answer it or say I don't want to answer that. Completely up to you.
Oh, sure, no problem.
And Jesse Olsen is here. He says, "Yo, Steve."
Hey,
saying hi to you.
Jesse's the best.
Yeah. I know him from the forums, from the CBCS forums. He's great over there.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah. But I don't know. Do you want to kind of just jump right into it? So I guess a little bit of backstory first. Earlier in the week, you were on the Chillin' with the New York Warriors, NY Warriors podcast.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Right, they're a great group of guys, and you know, friends of the show as well. And through that conversation, it came out that apparently CBCS is going to be moving. Somebody said to Texas, and then you qualified that with Dallas.
Correct. Right.
It still wasn't confirmed at the time, but now it's official, right? It's pretty much.
Oh yeah, no, it was confirmed. Sure. I've actually mentioned it to people over the last probably 2 months.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and it's really funny because our hobby, usually news spreads like wildfire, and somehow I just found out everybody thought it was like a secret or something, which is really strange.
Yeah, usually news travels really quickly, but for some reason that didn't get out, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Or it stayed within like the same group of people.
Right.
But, yeah. But I guess this was the catalyst for it to really get out there. So
yeah, it's working.
yeah, exactly. So we wanted to talk about it, but at the same time, we wanted to make sure that we're giving all the correct information up front, right? So if you want to kind of just share some details on that and your take on it, I guess, and, you know, what you're expecting, you know, post transition, you know, in terms of, you know, the company itself. Love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, sure. I mean, the transition has already started. You know, they're the building in Dallas where Beckett is located, which is owned by Eli Global. They've already started work on getting our areas together and everything, and we've already looked at which pieces of furniture, like the desks and stuff that we need to move, which stuff we should leave behind because it's more expensive to move it than just buy it new. We've been talking to all the employees, seeing who's coming, who's not coming, and it's really good. The grading team is going, and we're really excited. You know, the key staff is still going. It's pretty exciting. We're going to be right near Heritage, which is, you know, the largest auction house for comics in the world. And I have a great relationship with them because for years I was the senior consignment director over there. I was bringing in millions of dollars worth of material. And mycomicshop.com, which is probably the largest seller of comic books, you know, per, you know, individual comic books, not so much money-wise like Heritage, but they send out, I think, 1,000 packages a day. I mean, it's incredible. Wow. They have, and I have a great relationship with Buddy Saunders and his family, who owns mycomicshop.com, formerly called Lone Star Comics. And so that's really, really exciting because we'll be right there. They don't have to spend money on postage and back and forth. It's really great. And Dallas is a great, great city. A lot of collectors, and I'll be close to Houston, and I'm a music, not Houston, sorry, Austin. And I'm a music fanatic, and that's a great place for music. So my other hobby besides comics and comic art is music, especially live music.
Yeah, that's always fun to, I don't know if you go to, you know, if it's a concert or, you know, bar setting, but it's always fun just to sit and, you know, hang out and listen to music. It's always a good experience, no matter the venue.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I'm a fanatic about live music. Really love it.
Yeah, Mr. Unknown Comics Guy is agreeing with you. Austin is awesome for music, he says. So, so very cool. So you just said most of the staff will be relocating as well, right?
Yes.
So that's really great. I know one of the questions people had was about current grading criteria, you know, in the eyes of folks, and if that would be different, you know, once it was moved. But if it's the same people moving, that really shouldn't be a concern or an issue, right? It's
right, not at all.
Same eyes, yeah.
Right, that's not an issue whatsoever. I mean, there's always you're always hiring and we're always training, so there's always going to be, you know, pre-graders who are not up to snuff to finalize, of course. and they become finalizers much later. But the core group, Wes Steffen, Joshua St. Amon, myself, Daniel Ertl, everybody seems to be moving. It's great.
That must be a relief for you, right?
Oh yeah,
These people are already trained, and their expertise is in place. Yeah,
we wouldn't be moving if we couldn't keep the standards the same, the level of quality the same. It just wouldn't happen. But what's going to be great is the shared resources. I mean, Beckett is quite big, so the shipping department, customer service, all that kind of stuff will be fantastic. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, perfect. And so you're moving into, Beckett, the building itself, right? The same facilities. So my understanding is they don't have, comic they have magazine grading, right? But not comic grading. Is that correct?
Right. Correct.
So are you building like a brand new vault, or where's the storage going to be?
Actually, they're building everything. And once again, because the comics are so expensive and they're insured, we have to keep them housed very safe and secure.
I'm sure there's a lot of security and stuff. So that's good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Last time, one of the first things that we had talked about was the hurricane and the impact from the hurricane, right?
Sure.
And that had, affected turnaround times, and there was sort of a ripple effect from there. But I guess being in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, that's going to be much less of a concern for you, right?
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't control the weather, so you never know when some kind of catastrophe will hit anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world. But yes, it'll be a lot different than Florida.
Right, exactly. And the humidity and stuff too, just general weather conditions should be better for you there. And I guess Edwin, he lives in Houston, which isn't that far from you. So I don't know if he has this question, but I'm going to ask it. What about kind of like walk-ins or appointments for drop-offs?
Yeah, sure. It'll just be like it is now. You make an appointment and show up. Somebody from customer service takes care of you, and you can even come pick up your books.
Perfect. I think Edwin will probably be making a trip.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, I go to Dallas at least a couple times a year, so it would definitely be good just to drop off a bunch of books for you guys.
Oh, cool. Maybe we can grab lunch. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I do want to thank you for coming on this platform. One of the things I think you're doing that's really, really smart is being able to go on some of these YouTubers, because I think it's a great tool to kind of get your name out. And it doesn't cost you anything except just a little bit of your time and stuff. So I was kind of toying around with somebody talking about ideas about why Toys R Us kind of went under. And I thought if they would have utilized some of the online presences and platforms, they could have, kind of helped their brand and maybe even help save them a little bit. But
but retail is tough. I mean, everybody wants everything, now. They don't want to leave their house. That's why Amazon Prime is doing so well, right? I mean, free 2-day shipping. Right. Everybody wants something now. It's really funny because that relates to comic book grading. It takes a long time to grade books, and we have the 2-day modern tier and we have the regular modern tier, and the modern tier costs a lot less and takes longer, and people want their books like yesterday. Literally, if you're like a day late on your turn times, people are like, what's going on? And I think I was talking about this on the a show the other night. When I was growing up, you would get like Comic Buyer's Guide, and you would write a letter to somebody to see if they still had the book, or make a phone call, and maybe they wouldn't return your call right away, or maybe they didn't even have an answering machine. We're talking about the 70s, right? And I am kind of old. So back then you could wait up to 8 weeks before getting the comic that you ordered. And back then you didn't even have the same kind of return policies that you do now. Like if you got something and you hated it, you'd have to call right away, and hopefully you got somebody and be able, and then you have to ship the book back, and then you'd wait a month to get your check in the mail. It's so different. It's really hard for me to imagine what it was like back then, unless I'm talking about it. It's really evolved to, I want everything today. You know, it's kind of like I want an Oompa Loompa now, Daddy. You know.
Wow. Yeah, I can't imagine how different. Like I can't imagine how different it is now compared to then.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. But social media has been fantastic. We have we have our own Facebook page, of course, CBCS Comics. But then there's somebody started a CBCS Comic Collectors Club page, and that's got a huge amount of people. And then, of course, my Facebook page. People request me all the time that I don't remember meeting at a convention. So I have to check, their profile to make sure they're into comic books or something. And, it's been fantastic. I've met so many people through social media, and I mean, look, that's how we all met, right?
Right, exactly.
And I love comics. I love the collectors. I love the sellers too. I get along great with all of them. Yeah, except for the crooks, of course. I don't like them.
Right.
But it's been real fun. It's work, but it's fun work. I post every day. I post a new comic book, and I talk a little bit about it, and people really seem to dig that. And I get to interact day and night with everybody. And like I said, I've made some fantastic friends. Like you mentioned, Jesse Olsen. We only met through social media, and we become amazing friends. We talk on the phone now. It's fantastic.
Yeah, same here with us. Doing this show, even just the people who come and listen and leave comments for us and interact with us that would never have otherwise had a chance or an opportunity to meet. It's really a thing that we have these days, and like Justin, I think it was Justin said, it's free, so you really can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us comic fans, we now have a 24-hour a day.
Yeah.
Every day we can get on our computer or our phones or whatever it is, and we can search for comics, or we can sell comics, or we can
Right.
I can publicize CBCS. I can go on to an original art forum because I collect original comic book art, and I can talk with fellow collectors and do trading or just see what they have. It's such an amazing world right now for the comic book community. Going back to what I was saying about the 70s and 80s and the 90s, it's just such a different world. And I mean, eBay really broke things open. Now eBay is pretty much a flea market, but and you're much better going to Heritage or Comic Link or mycomicshop.com, that kind of thing. But you still can find a deal here and there on eBay, but there's a lot of sellers that aren't great, or they're pricing their stuff way over market and take advantage of the novices, which is a real shame. But there's nothing you can do to really stop that, except for people to educate themselves, and you help educate them.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You can't stop them, but you can arm yourself with knowledge and go into it as an informed buyer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what certification is all about. Mm-hmm. It's we help people that start, and they send in books, and all of a sudden they go, wait a minute, I didn't know this book was color touched. I didn't know this book was trimmed. Or I didn't know this was missing the Marvel value stamp, my Hulk 181. So they learn to count pages. They learn to check for restoration. And not that it's easy to check for restoration. You have to learn. And it's really tough for this new generation because they're growing up looking at books through plastic. They're not holding it in their hands. And the reason we originally, when certification started, you made the holder openable but tamper evident, was so that you use it as a buying and selling tool. and then you could take the book out, read it, or look through it, whatever you want to do with it, and then you can stick it into a Mylar with a, archival safe backing board, and put it away as long as, of course, the temperature is right. You don't want the temperature to fluctuate too much when you're storing paper.
Right.
You want the right conditions.
Yeah, I can't imagine, being able to open up the slabs like that so easily. It's different now, but unfortunately, it's those rather uncouth folks who have made that not an option anymore, right?
Well, I wouldn't disparage anybody in saying uncouth, but I mean, there's people who just refuse to take their books out of the holders, and that's okay. Everybody collects the way they want to collect, and that's what makes the hobby fun. Mm-hmm. Is you don't want to tell somebody else how to collect because you don't want somebody telling you how to collect.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we always say on this show, collect what you love, collect what you like. And,
that's been my war cry for years. Not just collect what you love, but collect what you can afford as well.
Yeah.
Don't go too deep into your debt because I say this in my Overstreet market report. Every year, that if there's ever a real heavy recession or depression in this country, you won't be able to sell your collectibles and feed your family or house your family.
Yep.
You really need to stay within your budget. It's very, very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to let that spiral out of control.
Oh yeah, sure. You're talking to an original art collector here. That stuff costs a fortune.
Absolutely.
I finish an auction and go, oh my God, how much did I spend? And then I have to look through my art and say, okay, what can I get rid of to pay for what I just got?
Well, nowadays it's like every time there's a movie trailer release that drops, everybody wants to go crazy and just buy up the first appearance of that character on eBay.
Oh yeah, well, it's not even just the first appearance. Especially we're talking about original comic art. It's incredible. There was a Doctor Strange cover that I really liked in the last Comic Link auction, I think it was, and it went for basically double what it sold for before the movie, and I just couldn't touch it. I was out. I bid as much as I could, and I was out.
I saw the same thing with that Uncanny 266, the first appearance of Gambit on the cover there.
Oh, sure, that went
for it went for, I think it went for over 150 grand, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Because he had a reserve on it, and
no, actually, I think it went for 135,000 plus the juice. Plus the fee. So about 150. Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, I was talking with my friend Brian a while back, and we were talking about original comic art versus just comics in general. And when you have that increase from, say, a movie, everybody wants those. It's easy to say, okay, let's ride that out. Let's wait till we get past the movie and the hype dies down. But a lot of times with original comic art, you don't see it on the market or like it. It's something you probably want to jump on because you may not see it again,
Right. And I was just talking to one of the top sellers of comic art, and he mentioned to me that his sales overseas have increased from, I think, like 5% to about 30%. And he said that the stuff isn't coming back into the country. It's really becoming a worldwide collectible.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's really great for all of us.
It's one of those things where it's just, you look at, if you think about it, I mean, these are like, the modern art masters, and they're, maybe not to be that extravagant with it, but still, it's just, it's one of those things where you have somebody who is at the top of, comics and stuff, if they're doing the covers and things like that, and it's just to own a page of that, or to get somebody who, potentially, is older and may pass away. It's just like, that's something I think that a lot of people treasure, and it's just like, we're not talking about anything getting up to being like, original Van Goghs and stuff like that, but I mean, because you couldn't live in that time frame and buy that type of stuff. It's just, but I mean, maybe, it's just a new type of art collecting where it's just like, it's just, that someone's just said, you know what, this is a comic book master. It's not a painting master. It's not, you know, any of that type of stuff. But this is, you know, an original Neil Adams page. This is incredible. I want to display it in my house.
Sure. I mean, you know, Neil Adams is, you know, he's amazing. I mean, he's and I'm very, very lucky. Him and his wife Marilyn and his family are good friends of mine. So I get to like geek out completely. I have dinner with Neil Adams like a bunch of times. This is so cool, right?
Right.
You know, for a fanboy like me, it's just a dream. And Neil's just really cool, and so is Marilyn and the kids. But I actually own a page from Superman versus Muhammad Ali by him.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And it's really cool. And then I have a partner that I invest with in art. And we own a page from Green Lantern 76.
Does he ever ask for it back?
That book right here.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I, you know, the art is really neat. But I mean, the comic books are you know, pieces of, you know, art in themselves. I mean, you know, just looking at the covers and enjoying the stories. The writers are really, really important. I mean, I believe that the writers are more important than the artists, because if it's badly written, it's cool to look at the art, but when it's well written, you can make any B-list or C-list hero or villain great.
Yep.
It's been proven time and time again by good writers. The only time that the hero or the villain is bad is when it's being badly written. And these are modern day mythology. I mean, Superman's been around since 1938. And there's been really bad Superman stories and really fantastic Superman stories. Same thing with the movies, same thing with the TV shows. It really depends on the writer. I think the writers don't get enough credit because it's such a visual medium.
Yeah.
Well, it has taken a different turn, because we know that in the 90s, some of those artists would probably disagree with that statement you just made.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but yeah, it's definitely more about the writing nowadays. That's for sure.
Well, for me, it is. You know, I mean, everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
And some people just love comics because of the art. And, you know, some people collect just covers. They don't even read them.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you have all these variants these days. Right? And they just go, oh, I love that, you know, cover by Neil Adams. And great. So they pick that up and they send it to CBCS or send it out for certification somewhere else, of course. And they go, great, I got a 9.8. I'm never touching this comic again, but they just love looking at it. And great, you know, God bless them.
Yeah, that's true. Brian B actually brought up a good point, going back to the original art. He says, adding to that conversation, it's going to be less and less, as so much now is digital. So
yes, that's true. There's still people who do, you know, a lot of stuff by hand. Actually, I just was helping my good friend John K. Snyder III with his Comic Art Fans page. So he can promote his new graphic novel coming out. And he does everything by hand. You know, Neil Adams is still doing, of course, everything by hand. Spoke to Don Perlin the other day, and he's still doing commissions and everything by hand. But there's a whole new generation, and they find that it's, you know, easier to do it digitally.
Right. And if you're working with a team, you know, you have an inker and a colorist, it's easier to send them a zip file than it is to have to mail that off and, you know, then send it in. You know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But like I said, there's plenty of people who still love to draw. And, you know, back nowadays, you know, if they do a cover or they do a splash page or a panel page, doesn't really matter. But covers are king, you know. If they can then sell it for a lot of money. Back in the day, you couldn't sell anything. So, you know, whether it was Jack Kirby or whatever, I mean, there was covers you could buy for $25. Jack Kirby covers. I mean, that's crazy, right?
That'd be amazing.
So these new artists say, well, I'm getting paid for the book. And not just that, but I can now sell my cover for couple of $1,000s or a couple of $100, depending on how hot they are or not. So doing things by hand is still I'm not sure what the words I'm looking for, but there's a reason that people still do it by hand, and it's to make extra money, as well as they love the art form of doing it by hand.
Yeah, there's a certain process to it that's really, takes a lot of care.
Oh yeah,
It's a special person to do it.
Yeah, it's really funny. Don Perlin was telling me that when he was at the bullpen at Marvel, he would be worried about every line that he put down. And he looked over at John Buscema, and he saw that John never used an eraser. And he said to him one day, he said, "John, I noticed you never, erase anything." He said, "Well, they don't pay me to erase. They pay me to draw." Because back then, you got paid for doing your work quick and getting it out there. Now, as you know, certain books take forever to come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time something took forever to come out was back in the 80s, I guess, was Camelot 3000. I think we waited a year for the final issue. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's a long time. I know that Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, was one in recent times that took a while to come out, right?
Yeah, Frank Miller's not known for meeting deadlines, right?
Exactly.
Great guy, but
takes the time.
Yeah.
All right. So we actually had a question from earlier. Just kind of going back to the move. Is there going to be a hard stop date for mailing in submissions? Like, say, just throwing it out. Like, say next Tuesday, do not use this address anymore. Now you need to use this Dallas address, or is there? How's that going to work? Or
well, I'm pretty sure that mail will be forwarded in case there's people who just have the old address, make a mistake. But we're going to get the word out there real well, and I'm sure we're probably not going to give the time like next Tuesday, right?
Right, yeah.
So we're probably going to give plenty of time to get the word out there. I mean, it wouldn't be responsible for us to move to Dallas and have people still have an idea that they can send to most of the people, I should say, have the idea that they can send to Florida.
Right. Yeah, I just threw out next Tuesday just to have a date. I wouldn't expect you to do a last minute thing like that.
Yeah.
But what I hear is you're anticipating no later than June, right? Having been fully relocated. Is that accurate? June?
It looks like mid-June.
Mid-June. Okay. So yeah, you have plenty of time.
Oh yeah. Pam and I are actually going to fly out to Dallas and look for places to live pretty soon.
Oh wow, that's exciting.
Oh yeah, very much so. And like I said, I have a lot of friends in Dallas, so I'm really excited. It's pretty exciting, and the move should be pretty seamless. There's a relocation company, relocation division at Eli Global and Beckett, and when 2002. When I was president of our competition, we moved from New Jersey to Florida. And so I've already kind of done this with a certification company already. So hopefully it'll be, go as smooth as possible.
You're going into this with some experience, and that's
yeah.
that's good. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think there was another question. So you answered the question I had actually. So is what's happening with the census? Is that, I know it's still kind of in the works, right? Or
yes.
Is that...
But the nice thing about merging with Beckett is that the IT department is fantastic, and they're already planning on the census and then like some type of registry, right? Where you get points for having the best collection or the best run or.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, or the best sets, right? So we're talking a lot about it, but we're not going to rush into anything. I mean, everything we want it to be right. So you want to take your time. You want to make sure you get it right the first time. And it's always going to be one or two tweaks, of course. Nothing's ever perfect. You know, nothing in this world is. But we really want to come out strong when we come out with things. We don't want to do anything, you know, halfway.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to. I know that based on past experience, that's never been something you wanted to do. So
right,
that's good. Yeah. So one of the things that we had on the list to talk about a little bit later on was actually some box. Are you familiar with that?
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
One of the things that we had to talk about on the list was called Diamond PullBox. Are you familiar with that? It's a new thing through Diamond that's being it's a digital program for the customer side and then for the retailer side as well. It helps to integrate with Comic Suite, which is one of the POS programs they use for ordering and kind of inventory tracking.
Wow, I don't know anything about that. That's cool.
Okay.
I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, it's coming up. They just had, I don't know if it was at C2E2 actually, but it was one of the recent conventions where they did like a trial run so people could test it out. But it's supposed to be better on the consumer side where you can, have a what do you call it? A pull list. You can make special orders. You can have a wish list, and that all gets uploaded to the comic shop where, they can adjust it, or it helps them for their tracking and their subscription folks, and then on their side of it, that there's a bunch of benefits as well. So it seems pretty cool. It's something coming up. It's going to be free for the retailers, I think, until May of next year.
That sounds neat. I gotta actually speak to Steve Jeppy. He owns Diamond, and I'll find out more about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think you might find it interesting. One of the things I thought would be interesting now that it's kind of a new, more robust program is somehow integrating with, like a CBCS to, like, say you have a pre-order for a book and you want it, immediately graded, or, it kind of like have that additional integration to where the shop orders it and it's like immediately sent over to you.
Oh yeah, grading. That would be super cool.
Yeah, I don't know if that was something like that would be possible, but
that's something
I know
in your conversation with him.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely a conversation I'm going to have with him and with some other people at Diamond for sure. We're always looking at new ways to get certification out to the collectors and to the retailers as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think this would be a perfect time for something like that. Yeah. I know a lot of people are, very anxious about getting some of those first 9/8 on the market, or, first ones, getting them graded really quick, and, turnaround times are a big thing. So,
sure.
Even if, so, I just, something that I thought about, but.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. Really looking forward to looking into it more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Diamond PullBox is what it's called. But
cool. Thanks for the info.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have questions for Steve on the move?
Yeah, there's one on the chat. Lee CVN72. I don't know if you guys discussed this yet. He says that he wants to know how the grading is going. Is the grading still going to be going on throughout the process of the move, or what's that going to look like?
Yes, I mean, I think there's going to be about 4 days where we won't be grading, but 2 of those days will be a weekend. I grade on the weekends quite a bit because I don't get as many emails or phone calls, so it's nice. I get to sit and listen to my music and grade. But of course, there's going to be, it's going to take 2 days for me to drive to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have probably about a 4-day halt is what I'm guessing right now.
That's not that bad.
Oh no. It's, it's basically, it's like I'm taking vacation, Except,
well, at least we were notified.
Not as fun as a cruise.
Yeah, at least we know about it versus the, I guess it was the power outage because of the hurricane that you guys had last year.
Sure. That slammed us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
now you talked about, being off for 4 days of the move. Was there ever any thought of trying to get the operation in Dallas up and running and have them both going before you shut down the Florida operation?
Well, it'd be really hard.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to split up the grading team, and we really do work together.
Gotcha.
You know, I don't know what people actually think, but there's the pre-graders and the finalizers, right? And when, let's say I get a book and I give it, let's just say for sake of argument, I give it a 7.0, and my two pre-graders are at 6.5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I turn to my senior grader, Wes Steffen, and I say, can you give me a grade on this book? Because I want to make sure that I've not missed something, or that I wasn't being too loose, or maybe on the other hand, maybe I was being too tight if my pre-graders were higher than me, right? So we need to work together. You need as much consistency as humanly possible. And so splitting up the team would really kind of hurt us.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense to take, the extra 2 days and get it together, because you want your books graded properly, and you want them treated right. You don't want you don't want say Steve Borock in Florida and Wes Steffen in Dallas. You want us both looking at these books for restoration, and you want us to make sure that we're trying to grade as accurately and as consistently as possible.
Gotcha. No, yeah. Something to think about.
Somebody has a question in the chat. Mr. Borock, you actually answered this on the New York Warriors show. I think it was Monday. For the people that might not have watched that show or are mostly familiar with our show, could you kind of answer the question as far as, do you grade modern books the same as you grade Silver and Golden Age books? And if you do or don't, could you explain why?
Sure. I get the question all the time. So the grading criteria is the same, whether you're grading a modern book, let's say, something like, Spider-Gwen, right? Or if you're grading an action number 2 from 1938, right? But the difference is that you have to take in printing and production defects. You have to remember that back in the day, comic books were not supposed to be a collectible. It was a way to sell advertising and keep kids entertained. They didn't care about if a book was miscut. If, like Marvel, if you look at the stuff from the 60s, a lot of it has Marvel pre-chipping or Marvel chipping on the edges. That's because the blade was dull and it didn't cut through the stack. It kind of tore through it as it was cutting. So we were a little more lenient on production defects. You look at the 40s books, a lot of them have bindery chips at the top and bottom of the spine. Some companies like Fox were completely miscut. It actually looks like the books were trimmed and trimmed badly. They were just cut badly. So you don't take off as much as you would for a book that came out yesterday, right? Because they're all coming off the press perfect. And so if 99.9% are perfect, then that 0.01%, you have to say, okay, I'm downgrading for this because there's so many other available out there. When I think I mentioned this on the other show the other night, when I bought my first copy of Adventure 40, the first Sandman, it was really small compared to the other Golden Age books I had bought. And my friends and I were looking at it going, it doesn't look trimmed, but it's so small. And we put it next to, found another copy of Adventure 40, put it next to it. It looked like the right size, but it was so much smaller than Adventure 41 and Adventure 39. It's just the way it was cut. They didn't care. They didn't have standards in those days. Actually, a lot of printers get bored watching. Back then, got bored watching the pages come through, and they would actually be drinking. I grew up in the printing business, so I saw this firsthand when I was a kid. So yeah, we definitely have different criteria when it comes to production, but we don't when it comes to defects. But once again, you have to look at a modern book is so much smaller than a Golden Age book. So a 1-inch crease on a Golden Age book doesn't look as bad as a 1-inch crease on a modern book. So you have to take the eye appeal into account when you're grading. It's not just a science. You can't just say that a 1-inch crease is this grade, right? Because what if the 1-inch crease doesn't break color? What if the 1-inch crease is on the back cover instead of the front cover? What would you prefer? So grading is not just a science; it's also a bit of an art form.
I've never heard somebody put it like that, but I could see how that would make sense.
That was a perfect example with the 1-inch crease, comparing the size of the physical size of the books.
Sure.
Yeah. We have another question from Nerdivision. He says, question for Steve. Throughout your grading career, have you a book that's a modern book?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the question.
He said, throughout your career grading books, have you ever seen a Silver Age book that's as sharp as a modern book? So
Sure. I mean, and we've given 9/8, and even there was a 10-0 Thor 150. I'm gonna guess. I think it was 158. Wow. I think it was submitted by. I know it was submitted by Charles Rosansky of Mile High Comics.
Oh yeah, Chuck.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And he got 10-0. But it's very rare. It's kind of like winning the lottery.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Justin would love to have that book, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Thor aficionado.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not sure. I mean, are you guys familiar with the Golden Age collections, like the Edgar Church Mile Highs or the Riley San Francisco's? And these books are Golden Age, and they are smoking. I mean, many have garnered 9/8.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the criteria for being Pedigree is it has to be older and super high grade, right?
Yes. It definitely has to be high grade, but it also has to be original owner. It can't be pieced together by buying it at conventions. So that's why Pedigrees are so rare and so in demand.
Yeah, and that Edgar Church collection, that's like that was the big one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those sell for multiples of Overstreet Price Guide. I mean, back in the 90s, I was a more fun fanatic. The Spectre, Dr. Fate, and I couldn't find a Morphin 52, the first Spectre. I couldn't find it to save my life in decent shape, so I flew out and bought the Mile High copy. And at the time, it was the most ever paid cash for a comic at the time, $115,000.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah, I was. It was crazy. I was on the plane on the way back, going, I could have bought a house.
Oh my God!
Right.
But we're comic fanatics, right?
Yep. Money is no object.
Yeah, well, I had to sell a lot of my comics to buy that one. Trust me.
Wow. I mean, I can say this without even hesitating. Like, if I ever had the chance to buy and came up with the money and did something like that, my wife would absolutely, it wouldn't even be a question. I would just know I'm divorced before I even touch down. It's just like, as soon as the register just rings it up, divorced, it's over. That's so crazy. I mean, just hearing that, I mean, just some of the prices that, can be, coming off of Pedigrees just because of, the type of books they are and how great of a condition and care that was given to them. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people love to hear and be like, oh, you know, and I think that's where a lot of people get the misconception where it's just like, you know, you're just sitting on a gold mine. It's just like, no, that guy's sitting on a gold mine because he took care of his stuff for, you know, 60 plus years.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, but like you said, you know, you got to get your wife to understand a little better.
Oh yeah, no, she would never.
I've got the greatest wife. I really have the greatest wife in the world. She's fantastic. You know, I buy a piece of comic art and she doesn't hit me over the head or anything. It's just really good.
The receipt's not being printed on the back of divorce papers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We had another question about, you know, comics being stored. So some of like the pedigrees when they're found, or, you know, what have you. And I've heard stories about them not being bagged and board and just kind of like stacked, you know, over each other, or just the weight of them kind of pressed them down and kept them preserved. Have you heard stories like that? Or I mean,
no, that's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you know, the weight of the stacks kept these things in great condition. But because the stacks weren't perfect, and they weren't aligned perfectly, you have dust or sun shadows on some of the books. So it's very common on these pedigrees to have that. But the storage conditions are really what's, you know, really what's important. I mean, when you talk about the church copies or the Riley copies, these people had passed away way before the collections were sold. And basically, I mean, Chuck bought the Edgar Church Mile High copies for 10 cents a piece. They actually had to borrow the money because there were so many books.
Wow. We're all sitting here right now dreaming of hitting on another load like that.
Like, jeez. Break up my change jar. Let me get some of these, a dime a piece. Yeah, let me do that. Huh. But I mean, it's just, you know, when you said it's like, you know, it's a lot, you know, of books that he had to, you know, go ahead and house and take care of after that point. So it's just,
yeah. But, you know, once again, like I mentioned, you know, if you're going to collect books, the storage is very, very, very important. You know, climate control is very, very important. Can't stress it enough. It doesn't matter if it's in a holder, if it's in a Mylar, if you have extreme changes in temperature. I mean, some of the church books we were talking about, this gentleman, Burl, bought them and put them in his attic in Texas, where it got extremely hot and the books became brittle. And these were books that were preserved for, you know, so many years. And all it took was, you know, a bunch of years in the attic in Texas. Done. Burnt.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it really was. I owned 2 of the brittle copies. And I couldn't wait to get rid of them. I actually sold them to my really good friend, John Verzel. He was one of the top collectors in the hobby and one of the top advisors to the Overstreet. He just passed away a few weeks ago. It was a shame. The hobby lost a giant, and I lost a fantastic friend. But this gentleman's collection, he was enthralled with the Edgar Church Mile High copies, and he owned almost all the Timelies, which is, you know, of course, Captain America, Human Torch, Submariner. He had just an amazing collection. He had such a great eye, and he would always say, "They're cherry." that was his way of describing them.
That was his version of mint, right?
Yep, exactly. Well, actually, you know, mint, when the term came out back in the 70s, Phil Suling, who put on the marketplaces in New York, would go, "Mint isn't a grade; it's a flavor."
Yeah. There's been a few different grading scales throughout the years. It wasn't always, you know, the 10-point scale with the half grades in between, right? There's been a whole variety of them, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's gone from something very basic to something very complicated, which was the 100-point system, which nobody could really, you know, nobody could agree on all the time.
That's too many.
You know, it was, you know, because if, let's say, a VF was a 80, I'm just going by memory, but 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, right? A friend and I could agree that the book was a VF. Actually, that would be probably VF plus. We'd agree that it was a VF plus, but we couldn't ever pinpoint that exact number. It was too specific.
Right.
And that's why it changed the 10-point grading scale, which really isn't 10 points. And then, of course, when CBCS opened, we added the 0.1 and the 0.3 because people were getting pages and covers or coverless books graded, and they were not getting a numerical grade, but they had value. So why shouldn't they get a numerical grade? So Wes Steffen and I decided that, we're going to do this. And then Overstreet adopted it. And it looks like, the entire country has adopted it as well. Yeah,
it's pretty universally accepted at this point.
Yeah, it was. It's been a fun ride being, advising Bob Overstreet on grading and helping it set grading standards. I mean, since 1999, I've been doing this.
Wow.
And certification, we didn't even know if it would work. Everybody told us it wouldn't.
That's good motivation to prove them wrong,
Yeah, well, prices helped a lot. But, it's consumer confidence. That's the thing. Once you know that professionals or specialists have looked at your book, you feel better about handing over your money, and it makes a transaction between a seller and a buyer easier because they don't have to argue over grade.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I've actually
go ahead.
Well, I've actually heard, I haven't heard it a lot, but I've heard people on the internet saying that was going to be the next change in the market, was somebody or both companies or all three companies coming out with 9.3s and the 9.5s and the 9.7s. Is that something that you see as a possibility, or do you think that all companies are really just trying to stay away from something like that?
Well, I can't speak about other companies. I really have no clue of the inner workings. I mean, I left my competition, years and years ago. And I have to pay attention to CBCS, which is really important. If you worry about your competition, what they're doing, then you're not keeping your eye on the ball in your company. But we have no plans of changing this at all. Once again, it goes back to what I was saying about the 100-point scale. If you have 8.75, right, instead of an 8.5 and a 9.0, the difference in perception of grading will, maybe not perception of grading, the difference in trying to grade makes it even tougher for everybody to be on the same page. So I don't really see it. It's hard enough trying to figure out what's a 9.8, 9.9, and a 10. I mean, it's really, really tough. And I'll sit and look at a book that I think is a 10.0, and I'll sit and I'll look at it for 5 minutes. And it's a modern book, which should actually take me about a minute to grade, so if I had to worry about all these other grades entering in, I'm not sure if it would be as consistent.
Right. And then you'd have the question about all the previously graded books and exactly where they fell in there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a company could come out and do it and saying, wow, maybe we'll, get all these 8.5s into our 8.75 holders, But I don't feel it's right. I don't feel it's legitimate. And I also don't feel it's fair to the consumer.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question. We're in the modern age of comics. We've been in the modern age since what, early 90s, 91 or so, out of the Copper Age. Do you foresee Overstreet, because I think they're the ones who typically initiate that change, calling the 90s and maybe early 2000s even a different age, and us I know modern age will always be where we are now, but you know, coming up with an official designation for the 90s and, you know.
Well, one of the things that I really, really love about Bob Overstreet and the crew over there, you know, J.C. Vaughn and Mark Usman, everybody else, is that they care about the hobby and they listen to the advisors. And if you look at the Overstreet Price Guide, you'll see there's so many advisors who have so much knowledge. And if the collecting community wants a name for a certain era of comics, they'll listen. And if enough people want it and it makes sense, they'll do it. And usually the hobby follows suit.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I've definitely heard a lot of talk about people wanting to name the 90s something that we're kind of far enough past. You know, typically it's what, 10, 15 years as an age, and then it evolves into something else. So we're definitely beyond that in terms of the length that we've called the modern age. And you know, a lot of people have thrown out suggestions for that post-copper age period.
And I think part of the problem is the nomenclature, right? Is we're using metals, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to call it the titanium era.
Yeah.
We got to skip around. The 90s have to be the extreme age.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I always thought like chrome or chromium.
Would it be like the steel age, the tin age? I mean, it's like,
aluminum.
I mean, it just degrades, you know, the further down you go. It's just like, you know, I mean, eventually you're going to end up hitting the plastic age at some point. It's just like you can't use metal anymore.
Right. You know, and that's why, I mean, I think, you know, platinum, gold, and silver and copper kind of work.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's they're shiny, they're pretty, they're used in jewelry. But something that's used in jewelry is nickel. But do you really want to call it the nickel age? You know?
Well, a lot of us jokingly call it the variant age because of all the variants.
I could see that, but I don't think it'll stick.
Yeah. I mean, there is chromium or die cast, and you could name it after one of the actual variants.
Sure.
Acetate
I could see that. Right.
Oil age.
Well, once again, it's got to stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, they announce it, and then people actually have to say, "I like that."
Right. I mean, you know, like I said, you know, I'll be 55 in June, right? So for me, modern comics are 1980s books. So I think maybe you have to wait for my generation to die or get too old to care.
One of the things I noticed just recently that I don't know how involved you were with this. Well, you had to have been involved in the process, but I know Mark Roman. It seemed like he mostly handled it, but one of the things I actually appreciated with you guys listening, like what you had just mentioned a few moments ago, was the whole signing part and the AW aspect of your service, and how there was an issue there where a lot of the AWs didn't like that they had to submit a minimum of 10 books, even if it was for their own, even if it was for their own collection. And not only do I appreciate it, but I appreciate the quick response, because I don't even think it was a day or two before you guys came out on Facebook and lowered the number from 10 to 5. I'm basically just talking about this just to say thank you for listening, because you know, when it comes to the little man kind of looking at bigger companies, sometimes there's that thought that, oh, they're not going to listen, they're just going to do whatever they want to do. That wasn't the case with CBCS. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we always try to listen to the collectors and the dealers. We can't always accommodate them, but when we can, and it makes sense, we do. And Mark Roman is just fantastic. I mean, he really has his finger on the pulse of the signature community, where I don't. You know, when I was getting books signed by Jack Kirby or Joe Sinnott or Stan or whoever, it was never on the cover, right? That was facing the book. It was always on the first page in the margin at the bottom, or maybe a major splash page in the middle of the book at the bottom in the margin where there was no art.
I see them a lot right above the indicia.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it's really foreign. I would never take a comic book and a vintage comic book and get it signed on the cover. It's just foreign to me, but people love it. And so guess what? I'm a minority. And like I said before, everybody collects the way they want, and they want to see that signature, and they don't care if it's on top of the art. It's become a huge thing. When we started the signature series, I mean, was it 2002? It exploded. It really became a phenomenon. And right now, we have somebody like Rob Liefeld, who's going exclusive with CBCS. People just are, lined up to get a signature on these books, especially New Mutants 98 and New Mutants 87.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are biggies for him. So that was a huge win for you, having him go exclusive with you, right?
Yeah, that was quite a compliment. I didn't get into the hows and the whys. I let Mark Roman and Steve Paulus handle that, and these are great guys who know what they're doing. I do have to delegate at times because I can't do everything, right?
Right.
But we have a great team, and we do work together hand in hand. But it might be I get a quick email saying, "Hey, guess what? Rob Liefeld's coming with us." And I just write back, "Oh, that's fantastic. Great job." But I'm really good friends with some of the artists and some of the writers. And they won't go exclusive. They feel that there should be an open market, just like I feel there should be an open market. One of the biggest problems we have right now is that CGC paid Reed Expo quite a bit of money, and we're not allowed to set up at New York Comic Con, C2E2, Seattle Comic Con.
That's all the Reed Pop events, right?
Right, exactly. And when I was on the floor of C2E2, everybody kept saying how unfair it was and how it's bad for business because an open market is good. But that's capitalism. I mean, CGC made a deal, and Reed made a deal, and that's there's nothing we can do. But we set up off-site at C2E2. We took in 5,000 books.
Wow.
And that was being off-site and away from the convention center. And people were coming to us saying, we love you guys. And it made me feel so good. At the same time, it made me feel bad saying, if we were on the floor of the convention and people could see us and get to know us, maybe they'd like us better. Maybe they wouldn't. But free market is really important. I think that stifling competition, having monopolies, is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think you guys have really become a threat to your competitors over the past couple of years. So I can understand why they would do something like that, but I completely agree with you about the whole open market thing. Just because ultimately it shouldn't be just about CBCS or your competitor. It should be about the fans.
Yes, I'm all about the hobby. I mean, I grew up in it. I love it. I mean, I joke with people that I'm going to die on the convention floor, and people are going to be taking, videos with their phone, going, "Hey, I watched Borock have a heart attack on the floor." But without this hobby, I'd be kind of lost. I really have made so many phenomenal friends, and like I said, it's a fanboy's dream, getting to meet all these artists and writers. And I'm on the board of Hero Initiative, which is a hobby, which is a charity that gives back to our hobby. And for those I guess listening or watching, the Hero Initiative makes sure that these artists and writers who got paid almost nothing have nothing. We pay for housing, we pay for medical, we pay for transportation, we pay for food. and it's a real passion of mine. And it's really cool because people like Roy Thomas, Howard Chaykin, I mean, there's so many people on the boards. And I like, once again, I'm in fanboy heaven, even doing charity work. But yeah, it's a really important thing. It's anybody can go to heroinitiative.org and check it out. They can donate, or they could buy stuff that's been donated. I hope you don't mind that I'm doing a shameless plug for this.
No, absolutely. I know it's an important thing, and
awesome. Great cause.
It really, really, really is. And you know, I always say that you should give if you would ever take it if you needed it. And God forbid I need it one day. Well, I better work really hard to do that. And at C2E2 and at New York Comic Con every year, I'm the auctioneer for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital for the art charity auction. We just passed the $400,000 mark over working the last 5 years with Mike Nagin. And St. Jude's is a fantastic, even though it has nothing to do with our hobby, it's a fantastic charity. The money really goes to where it's supposed to go. There's so many fake charities out there, like Wounded Warrior or whatever. But I'm a big believer in charity. I think it's very important. If you have extra, then you should give. And if you don't, you know, that's okay too. Maybe work a little bit, helping somebody. But I really believe that we're put on this planet to help each other. I know I'm a bit of a hippie, but you know, it's just the way it is.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. No, I see Artist Alley a lot. You know, a lot of artists won't take money for signatures, but they will have a Hero Initiative donation.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely contribute to that. As Steve said, a really great thing. And also, I don't think I heard you mention it, but if you know you can't give financially, there is a way on the website, which is, like you said, heroinitiative.org, to volunteer and be a part of that as well. So even if you can't give financially, you can still give of yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. And we have great volunteers. I mean, some I've known for many, many years, and they really give selflessly. Excuse me, it's a hard word for me to pronounce for some reason, but they're really fantastic. I can't praise these people enough.
No, fantastic. So we're getting right towards the end of the show. I did want to run through a couple of the topics that we had, but I did want to ask you one last question.
Sure.
For myself, I don't know if they have additional ones, but one of the things that we're going to talk about was the ongoing concerns surrounding Stan Lee and his handlers and his health, and just generally whether he should be, and it's hard for us to make that decision, but just kind of seeing him, if it's the right thing for him to continue with conventions and the signing ups and you know, those types of things. I'm sure you saw some of the recent videos of him with like Silicon Valley Comic Con, you know, him looking very tired. His handler named Kia Morgan continually having to remind him what name to write on some of the books. And I believe on one of them there was an X-Men #1 reprint where he actually signed right over Jack Kirby's signature. So that was something. So I don't know if you have your take on it. I'm sure out of anybody here listening, you would have been the one to most have had firsthand experience with Stan or with his entourage.
Yeah, I've worked with Stan before with the Hero Initiative, and he was fantastic. You know, giving his time and effort. He would actually. It was really strange. The first time I was working with him for the Hero Initiative, he was just on, man. He was so with it and talking to the fans. And okay, it's time to finish. We walk up the stairs, get to the green room. He lies on the couch, and he's just dead to the door. And he's not a young man, right? He seemed to love what he was doing. He seemed to really love the fans. Now, the last few years, I really can't talk about. I don't want to get sued. Right. There's stuff I do know that I just really can't put out there. But I think, age is a factor. And but maybe Stan does want to continue working with the fans. If people are pushing him to do this, then that's really horrible. Really, really horrible. I mean, but the financial burden that I'm hearing about, all the theft that I'm hearing about, some of it is true, and some of it is just people talking on the internet.
Yeah, it's really a shame, and I hope that whatever that the truth is surrounding him, that it's able to come out soon. Versus, like you said, some of these truths and half truths and outright lies from people. It really muddies the waters around it, and for somebody like him, such a legend and somebody that's been around since I think 1940. He first started working with I always mix them up.
Timely.
Martin Goodman, right? Archie was late. Okay, I always mix up Archie and Martin. But yeah. So what's that, like 78 years?
Yeah, I mean, his first professional work was Captain America #3, right?
Yeah. So
it's incredible what this man and Jack Kirby and all the others did for comics. I mean,
right.
Stan was a bit of a scaredy cat though when it came to deciding to move into superheroes. I don't know if you all know that, but he Showcase 4 came out right in 1956, reintroducing the Flash in a totally different costume and a different person. Right, it was Barry Allen instead of Jay Garrick, and all that.
Right.
But so Stan was instructed to, and then Brave and Bold 28 came out with the Justice League, and it was a sensation. So Stan was instructed to make superheroes. Well, he kind of hedged his bets. He was very smart. What he did was he took the genre that was, being read, science fiction and horror, and he incorporated the superheroes into that. So if you look at Journey to Mystery 83, the cover, it's a science fiction cover, right? Thor's not a superhero in a costume. He's a god, right? And if you look at Fantastic Four 1 and 2, there's no costumes on these people. The first issue is a monster, and the second issue is aliens, the Skrulls, right? So he was kind of feeling it out. So it wasn't until Fantastic Four #3 that the Fantastic Four actually got costumes, and the Marvel Age really took off. And he introduced, with Jack and everybody else, they introduced more emotion into the comic books. It wasn't just, here's the bad guy, let's figure out how to, get the bad guy, and we've got the bad guy, story's over, right? There was, romance involved and teen angst, especially in Spider-Man,
right? And
there was, Doctor Strange. I mean, all the hippies loved Doctor Strange back in the 60s. So it was really a strange transition if you really look at it. And so now when you go and you look at these books, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that he helped introduce, I think, is really that layers and nuances to the characters, and really got into the familial element, especially with the Fantastic Four.
Oh, sure. Right. I mean, it was explosive. I mean, that's why it overtook DC.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's something funny enough, we were talking about writing before. That's something that a lot of people have said, maybe not directly, but books that they miss have said that's missing in today's books by and large. And that was one of the big things about, let's bring back the Fantastic Four. Why isn't Marvel printing the Fantastic Four right now? Things like that. So
right, sure. I mean, actually, I've dropped most of my Marvel reading I read a lot of independent. DC, I've been reading Injustice, which is just fun. But I buy everything in trade paperback or hardcover. So I'm always 6 to 9 months behind. So I don't let the graders talk too much about the storylines in the grading room. I'm like, no spoilers. But yeah, I think Marvel's kind of it's gotten too convoluted and too many reboots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And reboots are great. We talked about 1956, right? It was fantastic. But you can't reboot every 2 years.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't keep readers that way.
Yeah, 56, I think it was the Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish, Strange Tales, all those combo books, you know.
Right, they were all,
and there weren't that many
all
of them.
Science fiction and horror.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And but Showcase 4 came out with the Flash and changed everything.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely a different time. Okay, so yeah, hopefully, you know, in terms of, you know, with Stan Lee, and this is kind of where we were going with this, is that that whatever he ultimately wants and what's best for him, what will happen. That's what we all want, you know.
Oh, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
we really all really want what's best for Stan, and
Right.
It's just like I said, it's just a horrible situation, and he's not a young man, so I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see. I don't foresee a happy ending. Which is really such a shame for somebody who's brought us so much joy and so much entertainment.
Exactly. It's just, you know, it really is sad to see him in that state, just because, I mean, there's really, and then that's the thing that got me, you know, mostly is just because I can't think of, I mean, he always seems so genuine, and I mean, maybe he's good at putting on a smile when you know, just for the cameras and everything, but he always seems so genuine. And when he had made that video, when he was suffering from pneumonia and everything, it's like, you know, and he was apologizing and saying that he wanted to be around everybody and he loves all the fans. It's just like that's the image that I get of a guy like that. So to see him like really just looking not into it and just, you know, kind of looking either, I said he's either in a lot of pain or he's sick. Something's wrong with him. Like, because he doesn't seem like he's ever been that type of person to just really be despondent in that type of, you know, venue and everything. So, I mean, I really do hope that they, you know, that someone, just however it works out, I just hope that he's able to have some peace, you know, and kind of just, you know, enjoy the rest of his life, just because it's really just kind of sad to see him kind of parade around like a puppet right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. It really is. And, you know, we can only just hope the best because we really have no power over what goes on.
Yeah.
And being powerless stinks.
Right.
But that's just the way life is sometimes.
Yep.
Exactly. And one of the most frustrating parts sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Well, I probably took up too much of your time. I know we were going to just talk about CBCS and move to Dallas, but, you know, you get a bunch of comic fans together and just keep talking.
That's what happens, yeah. But yeah, I'll let you go. I know you're it's getting up there, and you probably got to get up early and.
That, I still have to work tonight too.
So.
Not grading, but I have to do my emails and things like that.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, thanks for joining us, and thanks for you know, telling us about the news and making sure it's right from the get-go in terms of what's out there. So definitely appreciate that. And as we said last time, you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, I love, you know, hanging out with you guys, and it's just great. And I feel it's a privilege to be on with you folks. I mean, I really do. And I love talking comics. So, you know, anytime you guys want me back, just let me know, and I'll be happy to ramble on and bore your fans.
Thanks so much, Steve. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Steve.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming by. This has been great.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
All right, you too.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. All right. Well, that's good. We got
info from the source.
Yes, exactly. That's what we wanted, you know, because I was talking with him earlier, and you know, I said that I was going to be talking about it, And he's like, well, let's make sure that it's the right information right away, because it's really easy for news to get out there and spread and spread and spread. And then to correct that once it's out into all these different places and in people's minds is a lot more difficult than just doing it right from the beginning. So
absolutely. And it's great to get out ahead of it, just because, I mean, how quickly rumors start and then get out of control is really just, it's just one of the really negative parts about, social media and the internet and just in general. So yeah, I mean, that was awesome of him to come on and really clarify and be able to answer everybody's questions that they had and just, pretty much let us know the truth behind everything from the get-go. So that's really good. And it's really good of him to, just be so gracious and happy to come on and everything. So that right. I think was a great interview. And honestly, I look forward to having him back, at some other point when maybe, if there's something new to announce, or just when he's got Dallas up and running and then just, really kind of going along. It'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. Quite frankly, putting people's minds at ease too. A lot of people were a little bit nervous about it. What does it move? What does it mean? Are you downsizing? These types of things. So hearing him talk about it definitely should put people's minds at ease and understand that it's a good thing. The move is a good thing. And it means growth for the company. It means quicker turnaround times. It's a better thing.
The biggest thing I took from it, though, was he said that the vast majority of his staff is moving with him. So it's not like he's like, oh, well, Beckett's going to build me this thing. See you guys later. I got new people.
See you guys.
So keeping it like a family, and that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. And that will keep the consistency with the actual grades, too, having those same people doing it. So that's
and it makes sense, too, just for that reason, where it's just like, you don't have to train a whole bunch of new people. And on top of that, too, I mean, there's no – I would say there's no better way to have a great business relationship and to find out that not only is this merger going to be beneficial for both, but they're going to take care of the CBCS guys as well. That's huge. I mean, that's something that's going to help, I think, really bolster them and make them strong, going forward, just because they have that kind of, trust and camaraderie, just getting into the deal. And then once they get it rolling, I think it's going to be really cool to see where they go from here. So I'm excited to see what's coming next from CBCS.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to run through a couple quick topics that came up this week, and then, ask you guys, just a little bit if you want to talk a little bit more about the Stan Lee thing, and then we'll close out the show because we're getting up a little bit long in the day.
Save 3 for next week.
3? What's 3?
The crossover.
Oh yeah. We'll save that one. So yeah, next week one of the things we were going to do was an intercompany crossover, our favorite ones. I have a lot of them, so we'll talk about that next week. So be thinking about those if you're listening. We'll say that. All right, cool. So Batgirl movie apparently is back on. It was with Joss Whedon. He dropped out, of course, but they want to push forward with Christina Hodson, who wrote Bumblebee, the Bumblebee movie, and was also working on the script for Birds of Prey.
Awesome.
Right.
That's cool. Things we haven't seen yet.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. So there you go. I'll look at, if you guys follow me on Facebook, look at my new picture on there. It's a clip from Ready Player One. Look at Todd McFarlane's from. It's from Ready Player One, and it's the shot with Deadpool. Not Deadpool. Oh my God, with Spawn. Yep. And he's running red costume and stuff. That's what I had in my head. So with Spawn, and it was a really quick scene. Everybody looked at Spawn, but with the still, you get to see also He-Man, Gremlins, Batgirl's in there, The Flash, Nightwing, and a whole bunch of other characters too. Aquaman's in there with a giant gun, all in this one scene. So that's kind of like Batgirl's first on-screen appearance in costume. Kind of cool.
Yeah. If you just count the Alicia Silverstone thing, because
oh no.
You guys all forgot about that?
We tried to block it out.
That's right.
But no, actually,
in that story, it was Ellis, Declan Shalvey, and Jordi Belair. It's an Image book.
Oh, Injection.
Injection, right? It came out in 2015.
Yeah.
Yep.
The breaking news makes me happy that I haven't been able to sell that copy yet.
Well, now you will.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it was adapted by TV for UCP, which is part of NBC Universal, and it'll be a TV show. Basically, it's about these people, the government. I think it's the British government. Actually, they kind of bring them together, and they're talking about the future, and they actually kind of figuring it out with different things. They're able to actually figure out what's going to happen, so they act on it. They say, "This is what's going to happen. Let's make this AI. Let's do this thing." It kind of uses magic and technology to try to affect the future. And it's a pretty interesting story. I don't know if you've read the whole thing, but that's through Warren Ellis. And then UCP, they've done things like a lot of things for I'm trying to think, Sci-Fi, USA, and Bravo. And they're doing Umbrella Academy, which will be on Netflix.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, nice.
So they're the ones responsible for Happy, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
The 12 Monkeys Show, Mr. Robot, Suits. They made Suits.
Oh, wow.
Colony also. And then they did a TV show, or they're doing one now, which is an adaptation of Shooter, which was a pretty cool movie. But it's a TV show now. So that gives you an idea.
Are they in like the second season or third season of Shooter?
For Shooter, I want to say 2.
Okay,
quote me on
the first season was Ryan Phillippe, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. The movie?
No.
No. The TV show. I think you're right about that. Because the movie was Mark Wahlberg.
Right.
Yeah. So we don't know much more details about this, but I guarantee you, we find out it's going to land either on Sci-Fi or USA.
I would say probably USA.
Sounds like USA from their history.
Yeah.
Just from the shows you named, I would say USA.
Yeah. So we'll see, but we'll come back to that and see if we were right.
Yeah.
So all right, cool. So that was pretty much it. We already talked about the PullBox thing with Steve. He gave us his thing, and hopefully, I thought that was a pretty cool idea to maybe integrate there. And you order a book and you indicate to your shop, I want that sent off to CBCS for grading, something like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It'd be cool, right?
Oh yeah. No, definitely. People would definitely take advantage of it, especially our variant cover love. So
yeah.
I mean, because that way, it goes right from the shelf or right from the printer to, the grading company. And it's just like, you don't have to worry about, digging through and making sure that, you get one that's good. And then, all the shipping and everything else is just taken care of from the get-go. So that I think would be pretty beneficial for some people, especially those who don't get a lot of stuff graded. If you're kind of nervous about it, now it's just like, you know what, let me try this grading thing out. Oh, all right, here we go. Like, wait a couple weeks and it's back. And,
I would almost want that option to go straight from Diamond. Like, don't put it in a box and send it to my shop first and then send it to CBC. Yeah. How about it just go from Diamond to CBC?
You have a better chance of getting a higher grade that way.
Exactly, man. I've been at my shop when they open some of those boxes and you're just like, man, you're not getting a good copy of any of that book,
The straps on the box and stuff, they can fuck with the books.
Yeah. And it's not if you've ever seen it, it's not like we pack even if you send off 20 books to a buddy of yours, you're gonna pack it to where there's extra stuff on the top, there's stuff on the bottom, the box can't compress in any way. These boxes you could kick them and kick through it. So
yeah, exactly. And they just send them loose, like stacked, but not like bagged and ported.
Nope. 2 stacks in a box. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So all right, so we'll close out with the Stan Lee thing. Just kind of touch on that again briefly. I know we were asking him about it. I thought maybe he would be one, if we're going to talk to somebody that would have, sort of that firsthand experience with him. And it sounded like he did, but couldn't tell us everything. So it was actually 2016 when Stan first announced that he was going to retire.
Yep.
Palm Springs is my last convention. And then the next year, it was in July of 2017, so a little bit less than a year ago, when his wife Joan passed. Now, they were married for a good 70 years, so you can understand why he'd be pretty devastated by that.
Yeah.
But that was right at the time when a lot of these people that surrounded him realized that this was their opportunity to maybe tap into he's estimated to be worth somewhere in the $50 to $70 million range.
Yeah.
A lot of money. And these people, his daughter is not very good with money. She's very artistic and very, just kind of, what's the word? Carefree, I guess.
The hippie.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Exactly. So she, and there's the conflict is, some people are saying that she's part of it with some of these people, like conspiring to get his money, because there's all these stories about arguments with her and Stan, and they're not, there's no proof of that. It's just people's, people like Kia Morgan. There was a nurse named Linda Sanchez who says some things, but there's no like proof of it necessarily. But then there's other people who are saying that maybe she's also a victim and she's being manipulated and used to try to get the money from Stan. Right.
It's possible. I mean, anything can happen, but
yeah, she was apparently I know King of the Golden State's here. How you doing? He was at SBCC, and apparently she was actually removed from the convention.
Oh wow!
Security. Yeah.
Look, let's just be honest, man. When there's a lot of money involved, it can bring out the ugliness in some people. So a lot of the stories, whether they're true or false, I wouldn't be surprised, if any of them, or if they all were true. But to me, it's not uncommon for, some children to just kind of have a selfish, entitled type of attitude because, their dad's always gone. He's worth a lot of money. He gives a lot of money, and sometimes, sometimes some of us are just irresponsible, especially when your dad is worth multi-millions of dollars and he's just handing you all this money. But I think Stan Lee, if you've met him, he enjoys doing what he does. He enjoys signing for the fans and all that stuff. So, I would have to guess that if he wanted to continue to keep signing and stuff like that, it's something that he wants to do. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't have to do it because he's got bills to pay like Mike Tyson or Wesley Snipes or something like that. But it's just something that I think that he wants to do. And but yeah, if there's anybody, family member or friends that's kind of pushing him or taking advantage of him, I just hope that stuff is kind of comes to the light and that they're just kind of exposed for this type of evil behavior.
Yeah. Exactly. I think the tough part with all this is that, you have, the video showing that, sign Stan Lee, and reminding him of his name and all the rest of it and stuff like that. But then it's just like, he made a video, I guess, in response to it saying that, like, this is all wrong. Can you, is a friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time. There's nothing with me and my daughter. Like that's all. So he went ahead and just denounced it all and said, what people are making up isn't right, and what people are saying is completely false. But then it's just like on the other side of it, though, it's just like there's other people that I guess are closer to the situation or just know it better and they're saying like, these people are dirty and they're hurting Stan, and that's it. And it's just it's one of those things.
Well, it's that video that you're talking about where he kind of rebuts it all, though. It's fine until the end.
Yeah, when it's just like
the end where it looks like he was coached the whole time.
Yeah. Actually, to me, it sounds like a script or something that he was prompted to say by Kia Morgan. He repeatedly said Kia Morgan's name. He made a point to say that. Who would do that other than the person themselves? And also at the end. Right before it cuts off, he says, "Oh, don't forget something." And I'm paraphrasing. Don't forget to tell them about the macular degeneration. And then Stan goes, "Oh, to hell with that!" And then it cuts off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, I mean, for me, I want to. I guess the part of me that wants to believe that Stan is okay, wants to be like, okay, he's putting it to rest. It's all just kind of people just blowing it out of proportion. But it's just I'm sorry, there's too many people that have known him for too long that are just like something's wrong. Like Kevin Smith has known him for a while. He's like Stan, and he's offering Stan to come live with him because he's like Stan's in danger. Neil Adams keeps on writing stuff saying like Stan is in danger, like something's wrong with what's going on. It's just not good. And people that have, I guess, had contact with him over the years, I mean, many decades and stuff, are being said that he's being sheltered away. So it's just like it's never stuff you want to hear. And it's just like and I just feel bad for him just because like I think finally a little bit it's starting to show that he's just not happy with what's going on. And like I said before, I mean, maybe he's good at putting on a smile for when he needs to, but like it's fading away, and it's just like he's 95, right? 95 or 96.
95.
Yeah, it's just like let him have his peace. He's an old man, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, he's not going to be with us too much longer. It's just like he shouldn't be going through this, and it's just I really do think that it is pretty bad, and I'm not looking forward to hearing however many years down the road that like the true story behind what actually happened and what's going on, and hearing it'd be a really sad story for a guy who really doesn't deserve any of that.
Right.
Get some horrible movie in 10 years, 20 years from now, the final days of Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I mean, I'm telling you, it's just gonna end up being something where someone who, I mean, because it'll be far enough removed that somebody who probably is being quiet now and watching all this go down, that cares about Stan, is gonna come out and say like, look, this poor man was in so much trouble. I mean, but you couldn't say anything at the time. Like we all had to be quiet about it. But I'm not afraid anymore. I'm gonna say what's going on, and it's just it seems to be just the way that just everything seems to go. It's just like, all people wait a whole bunch of years and then just start coming out with some stuff. And it's just, and then you find out that a lot of it's true. And then it's just like, oh man, like it's sad to see it from this point of view. That's just my thing. It's just like, we're watching it and we don't really get to find out the truth until it's too late. And it's just, it really is just kind of, it's just sad to watch right now. And I guess we have to kind of keep our fingers crossed and hope that he's okay. And when he says he's okay, hope that he's telling the truth. But, we don't know.
But the other part of it is so right around the time when his wife died, he had to sign a bunch of legal documentation that goes around that, with the estate and, things like that. One of the things that happened was he accidentally or he was coerced into signing over power of attorney.
Oh, God.
A guy named Jerry Olivares, who was a co-owner with him with Hands of Respect, which is a for-profit charity, which apparently hasn't made any money, is what they're saying. But with that POA, he was able to get one of the nurses, and I don't know if it was Linda Sanchez or one of the other ones, to draw vials of blood from him.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Then the people at Hands of Respect, with Jerry, were able to mix it with, ink. There's a special thing to do that. He signed some Black Panther books and sold them off to a shop in Las Vegas with his blood. Once they found out, they took him down off for sale. There's evidence of that.
That's crazy.
Then the same guy, he wrote a check to himself for $300,000. You can see the check. He admitted to it, but he did say Stan gave it to him as like, here, thanks for being my friend.
Yeah.
And then he stole $850,000 and bought a condominium in West Hollywood. There's evidence of that. You can see that. It's written.
So then my question is then, for everybody who's if there's evidence, I mean, I know you'd have to get a lot more people involved, but why isn't everybody who's concerned for Stan and is worried about it, why aren't they getting together and trying to get some someone to investigate or something to get the authorities involved to kind of help save him if this is really what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
just
really hard to prove.
The police have been called over. There's been forensic financial people who've been called over. One of them, the firm, is actually the brother of Tobey Maguire, who played Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But also APS has been called a couple of times to his house, which is Adult Protective Services, who are the ones who would be protecting him from the elder abuse. And it's apparently Kia Morgan who called, but I think it was a power play against Max Anderson, who was fired when Max was fighting with J.C. Lee at the house once. The police were called, and then he was like fired the next day.
Yeah.
And then it basically became a controlling Kia Morgan, just basically controlling Stan, changed the locks. He changed his phone number. He basically doesn't let him out, or not let him out. I shouldn't say that, but he's the one who coordinates press and appearances, interviews, that type of thing, and also controls what's coming in. So he could be feeding him Stan information and saying, oh, people are saying this and that about you. And that's Stan being pissed off and saying, you're saying this stuff about us. You're saying this stuff about me. But that's not what people are saying. They're saying it about those people around him. Everybody you talk to is like, we love Stan. We want him to be okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, Stan is saying in that video, oh, you guys are saying this about me, which is not true at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, man.
So it's a shame. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, too. I'm not going to rehash it. I will do a shameless plug, though. Over on Comic Booked, there is a article that kind of goes through it all, everybody involved, the different events and things like that. And there's the link for it is in for this, so you can read about it there if you want later on. But I think that's going to do it for this show. We've gone very long on the show here on the 80th episode, milestone issue, so we might as well run it long.
That's right, double sized.
That's right, collector's issue here with a second appearance. And I don't know, any last words, guys, before we shut it down?
Just thank everybody for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and everything. Thanks to Steve Borock for coming on and just, you know, really having, you know, a great interview. And just for me, just, you know, keep an eye on my channel. I got a, you know, video or two that I got to put up there for some books that I kind of, you know, my haul for this week. And then some books that I haven't been able to post. But other than that, just everybody have a great weekend and, you know, enjoy.
Yeah, it's good to be back after a week off. And I don't think that this is going to be the last of the whole Stan Lee news. So I'm pretty sure there'll be more to talk about in upcoming weeks. But it's good to be hanging out with y'all again and looking forward to doing more of it in the upcoming Thursdays.
Yeah, 81 next week.
Yeah, Thursday, not Tuesday.
That's right. I gotta remember what day we're on.
It's in like if you watch any of my videos, it's always wrong. I always start off with Thursday. Yeah. So it is just the way it is. But yeah, good stuff. I will have Paul will be out tomorrow for this week. Like I said, it's short, so I'm kind of doing something different with it. So that'll be up on tomorrow, Friday, and then of course Sunday we got Sunday Morning Comics. The new topic video will be out on Monday. And I'll throw up a review of Domino since we didn't get to talk about it. How about that?
Cool.
Bonus.
Do it. Everybody check it out. Leave comments on that. So, all right, cool. So, yeah, great show. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to everybody who was here with us in the chat or watching later. We definitely appreciate it. I do have a contest going on. I mentioned it at the beginning. We're getting towards the halfway mark of the time period for it. So check out the video later. I would love to see video from you if you can. There's 3 prizes, and you can watch the video to see what they are. But I want to give them away, so I want to give it to you. So you got to make a video, and looking forward to that. And we'll be back next week. And I got my books. I got to review my books too. I got a giant stack over here of back issues I got and my new books. So got some videos on the way from JLS Comics. But that's it, guys. That'll do it. Episode 80, Comic Conversation. And we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
See ya.
Peace.